Hey, Derek, how you doing today?
I'm good. Did I get you at the right time?
Yeah, this is a great time. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll introduce you first to my co-host, Ton.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm happy to have you on the line. This is very exciting.
I'm excited to be on. We're gonna have fun.
If you're ready, let's get started. Talk to us about what you're up to now. You've got a tour in the works?
Right now, I'm going to be doing about 60 shows this summer in and around America. A lot of the shows are going to be with a pickup band, and a lot of the shows are, 50-50. A lot of them are going to be with my band here in Nashville. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of casino shows and stuff like that this summer, but it's all on my Facebook. Anybody that wants to find out what's going on with me, all you got to do is go to Facebook.
Well, we got to say, Derek, you're still sounding great after all these years, and you have one of those voices that you could easily, lose as time goes on. But how do you keep the voice going after all these years?
I really kind of take care of myself. I make sure that I never hurt my voice. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I just don't do all that stuff. You know what I mean? I just really try to take care of it because, there's a lot of guys that are falling like flies, man. They can't sing anymore. It's kind of sad. But for me, singing is the only thing of course, I love to play guitar, but singing is the thing for me. So when I get up there, I want to be good at it.
Yeah, we just we saw the Hired Gun documentary on Netflix, and we thought, Derek St. Holmes was just an awesome singer and guitar player, and we figured we needed to get you on the show. We were glad we could hook up with you.
Awesome. That's very cool. Very cool. The bottom line, people always go, hey, do you work out and stuff before you, do vocal warm-ups? All I do is I talk to people before I go on. I talk a little bit. I don't talk much because I don't want to wear myself out. But you'll never hear me going, me, 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 me. Never. I just walk out there and start singing.
You just naturally got it from day one, huh?
It's God-given. That's the way it is. My mom could sing like crazy, and I got it from her.
Well, talk to us a bit about some of the early days with Ted Nugent. We had him on the show previously. Those early albums, sold like crazy. Did you guys ever see that coming, or what was it like? What did you feel back then?
Well, we didn't see it coming, but we knew we were an incredible band, so we kind of felt that. But I don't think anybody really sees it. You just don't see it coming. You kind of know that you're selling and you're doing well, but when those things started, when the first album went gold, we knew we were onto something.
Well, yeah, it's a huge success early on, and obviously it wasn't a guarantee that the band would have been that successful. A guy from the Amboy Dukes kind of just picks up a new band and start a new project, but obviously, everyone made the right choice with that.
Yeah, you know who Rob Grange is, right? Rob's the bass player from the Ted Nugent band, right? So Rob had a really good analogy. He said, Derek, Ted had 6 albums before you. None of them did anything. When you joined the band, all of a sudden, the albums went gold and platinum. So there's got to be something to it. And I went, well, I guess there is. Yeah, I hear you. That was sweet of him to say that. But that's the bottom line. We're just good. We're all good at what we did.
Well, definitely it seemed like you kind of made a lot of those songs what they were. And even to today, I've run into people that still feel like Ted sang those songs, and I'm always like, well, how do you even think that? Of course not.
Right? It seems so funny to me that people that they just don't get it. But yeah, it's kind of interesting when they see me sing and play. That's when they kind of go, oh my God, this is the guy. That's the guy that did it. It's always funny to me.
Well, yeah, I was, my first show actually was Ted Nugent on the Spirit of the Wild tour, and I was super stoked to find out you were back with them at that time. I know you were kind of on and off with them over the years, but,
yeah.
You guys are still, I feel like Ted Nugent kind of fell off a little bit, and, as you mentioned, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but once you were back in the fold, he was making great albums again.
Yeah. the musical ideas really do come from all of us. So it's not just him. So when we get in a room together, that's when the musical ideas come. And it's just the way it is. I mean, none of us really planned out that way. It's just the way it was that, people think that Ted wrote all that stuff by himself, and he didn't. It was all of us. So pretty interesting.
Well, I know you had some great solo albums over the years as well, and, also paired up with Brad Whitford from Aerosmith. That was another successful pairing. I know you guys just had a release out not too long as well.
Right. That's my favorite album, that one. That freaking thing rocks, man. So I'm just excited about that one. Have you heard it?
I've heard the first one. I haven't had a chance to check out the second one, but I imagine if it's anything like the first, it must be pretty good.
Yeah, if you are a rocker, you are going to love it. It's a rock and roll album. It's really cool. Probably to date, best album I've ever done. And I think Brad said the same thing. He really enjoyed it too. So we're excited. You guys ever interviewed Brad?
We had Joey Kramer on a few years ago, but haven't had anyone else from Aerosmith yet.
Yeah, how was Joey?
He was pretty good. He was selling some coffee or something, I think. He kind of seemed to be a little hazy on his memories of the old days, but it was pretty good.
He was selling you coffee, was he?
Yeah, some kind of Joey Kramer's rockin' roast or something like that.
Yeah, he ended up sending us a case of it, of his nice coffee. It was pretty good.
Was it good?
Good guy.
Let's face it, Nugent's got coffee. He's got coffee. I think Maxwell House has got coffee.
Well, I would say, I guess recently you had a signature guitar from Gibson release. I would say that ups the cool factor a little bit more than just a cup of coffee.
Well, bless him. He's probably, in his defense, he's probably had a shit ton of drum sets that were after him. But yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. Well, you know what? You know what the sad part about that deal is, though? It got started, and then they fired the guy at Gibson that was in charge of my project, and it never got off the ground. So I'm sad about that. Was it going to be a great guitar? Yes. And now that they are changing up all of the hierarchy, there might be another chance at getting that thing done. So I'm going to check it out and see what I can get done. There's a whole new regime in Gibson.
Well, it seems like it would be a pretty, kind of honorable thing to have done. Was it a pretty extensive process of trying to figure out what your signature model would be?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what happened. What happened at first is that they made the model, they brought me in there, and they went, hey, look at this, we just finished your model. And I look at it, and you know whose model it was? The guy that plays on Jimmy Fallon. You know that little dude on Jimmy Fallon?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but his was a 67. So the pickups came through the pickguard. Now mine was a 61, and it had individual pickup rings, like a 59 or 60. And I walked in, they go, well, here we go, Derek, here's the new model. And I looked at it and went, fellas, that's not what mine is. Mine's a 61. And they went, oh, they looked at each other. The lady got up. She had a contract in hand. She got up sheepishly, and she kind of snuck out of the room. And my wife said, sweetie, you should have been nicer and just said, yeah, that's fine. And I went, sweetie, I can't do it. I cannot be phony. I don't care what kind of money it is. I can't be phony. And bottom line, I think that's why I originally left Ted Nugent, because I'm too freaking honest and I can't be hokey. When it starts to go hokey for me or not real, I gotta go. I don't care how much money's being made. I don't care how big it is. When it starts to get hokey and people are just calling it in, as it were, it's time for me to get out of there. So that's kind of how it happened. But that's a whole other story right there. Who's doing all the laughing back there? I love that.
Probably both of us.
I know, man. It's just funny. Believe me, there's a riff with Ted and I a little bit, we love each other. I love him. He's like a brother. But let's face it, when it comes down to actually playing music together, like we can go hunting, or we can go shooting guns, or shooting bow and arrows, or riding horses, or hanging out at a mall, or whatever. When he and I are together, we have a riot. But the second it comes to playing, he puts on this other hat to where he's got to be the lead dude, and that's all fine and well. Where you should be lead when it's proper, but where you're not the lead, especially when it comes to singing, let the other guy do his job. That's what you're paying him for. But I think that he's all those years he was afraid of my, what's the word? Somebody coined it the other day. I'm trying to just repeat what they said. He was just afraid of my talent, and I just don't get that. Why wouldn't you? Do you think Steven Tyler was afraid of Joe Perry's talent? Do you think that Mick Jagger was afraid of Keith Richards' talent? I don't think so. You join forces and you make it happen. But, yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. When we get together even now, it sounds great. I think you said you came and saw the 95 tour, and that was not a great tour, but it wasn't a bad tour. We had a drummer that was, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, but he was no Cliff Davies, and we did the best we could. But man, for me, it's about playing in a band, and it's like having 8 cylinders hit all when they're supposed to. And you're only your band's only as good as your weakest member. And mostly in any outfit I like to get into, I'd rather be the worst guy in the band. Because if I'm the worst guy in the band, that fucking deal is, that doggone deal is stellar. Oh, God. So let's see, what else? I could go on, and so I think I will. But I know you Minnesota Midwestern boys get this stuff, and you guys just do. You guys are hardworking, just like us Michigan boys. We don't want any nonsense. By the time you get out here and you say you're going to perform for me and you got a new album, that stuff better be good, because I just worked my tail off in the freezing cold waiting for you to get here.
You got it.
Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's how I grew up. So, even in junior high and high school, it was like, man, don't be half-assed, man. You got to bring the whole deal, because these guys are going to either throw stuff at us or beat us up afterwards if they don't like us. And, that's why I always strive to be the best in the room. And I kind of think I didn't ever want to surpass Nuge. I knew Ted was the king. I just wanted to be the best Prince available. You know what I mean? I used to just try to bring it and bring it and bring it. And, God, after a while, it was like, don't do this, don't do that. And this one, we were young. We were 24, 25, 26, and, we were full of piss and vinegar. But, it was like, hey, don't run around like that, or don't come over here. Play them just like the record, don't ad-lib, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, you're talking about not ad-libbing, but when you play live, you can take a song that you recorded in the studio, but if it doesn't work live, you have to change it up and maybe ad-lib a little bit, which is what we used to do, which is why you guys used to go crazy, because you got a little bit more than just the song the way it is on the album. And we used to tear it up live. There wasn't a band we didn't go up against that we didn't think it was a football game, and we were going to win. And bless all them, I love everybody we ever played with, but if you think we weren't competitive, you were dreaming. So, yeah.
I got to ask then, so that was even legitimate? It would come down to, like, don't go to these areas of stage? That seems a little bit much.
No, it wasn't exactly that, but you could get his vibe. Like, if he looked this is when we were younger, not now. Now he doesn't care. He wants you to be everywhere. If he had the attitude that he has now, back then we'd still be together.
Gotcha.
And maybe vice versa, but I don't know. I only wanted it to be the biggest band, we could make it. That's all I ever wanted. I didn't want to be better than Ted. I didn't want the band to be called Derek St. Holmes. I wanted the band to be called Ted Nugent. And I wanted to be a part of that band. And when we got to California Jam, man, that was the last last time I gave my all for that regime. That was it for me. And I'd say I'm glad they filmed it. They got it on record. But 1977 and 76 were the greatest years we ever played together. And we were a force to be reckoned with. We got kicked off many tours. I remember, people always talk about Led Zeppelin. They always talk about their Led Zeppelin's manager, this big guy named Peter Grant, big man. He flew all the way from London to Dallas to come to a Ted Nugent Bad Company headlining show, just because he heard that we were kicking their ass. And sure enough, he stood on the stage, and we wiped the floor with them. And you want to know why? Because we were high frickin' energy, and we were tighter than a cat's Bertucci. And, is Paul a great singer? Yeah. But do you want to hear us screaming at the highest? Sometimes I'd sing dog notes. Only dogs can hear those. And and Paul Rogers would get out there, who I love. He's my favorite. But when you're going, feels like making ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, from going, Motor City Madhouse, Motor City Madhouse. We freaking wore out the crowd. So to finish the story, Peter Grant's on the stage, standing there, watching us. I saw him out the corner of my eye, and I went, holy shit, we're done. We're not going to be on this tour anymore. Sure enough, after we were done, we toweled off, and we kind of, waited till Bad Company started. We walked up on stage, and Peter Grant was on the side of the stage, and we walked up. Ted walks up, slaps him on the back, and goes, so, Peter, what'd you think of that shit? and we were gone the next day. They canceled us.
Wow.
We were just too high energy, man. The guys that could keep up with us were Ronnie Montrose, Rush, Johnny Winter, who else? We took everybody out with us. Van Halen, Foreigner, Scorpions. They all came out and opened up for us. Of course, Aerosmith. It was always Aerosmith headline, Ted Nugent middle, because we're under the same management, and that's how Brad and I met. So I always noticed that Brad was kind of the quiet guy off to the side, but he was holding down the fort. He was the guy that was never too messed up to play and played all his parts correctly and held the band together. And, I kind of tried to always, hold the band together with my rhythm guitar playing up underneath Ted. So Brad and I kind of got a kinship about all that stuff. And then once when Brad, we were just friends, and we talked all the time. We hung out. And then finally he called me one day. He goes, hey, I did it. And I said, what'd you do? And he goes, well, I quit Aerosmith. I said, you're kidding me. And he goes, yeah, man, with everybody being so high, I just can't do it anymore. I said, well, I've been out of Nugent already a year, and it's not easy, but it's a lot more enjoyable being in charge of yourself instead of having to be, under somebody's thumb. So we said, hey, you want to get together and hang out a little bit? Maybe play some music? And he said, yeah. So I said, why don't you come on down to Atlanta? That's where I lived. And I said, shoot, I got a couple guys here we can put together. We'll just get in a room and jam a little bit. Well, we got in the room with these two guys, and all of a sudden, songs just start to flow out. And we're going, holy crap, we got an album. Let's record it. So that's what we did. So our manager, whom he managed, which is Lieber Krebs, David Krebs, great guy. Steve Lieber, great guy. But they had a lot on their plate, though. So I'm not sure if we were, it was Aerosmith. Take care of Aerosmith first, then take care of Ted Nugent, and then, let's try to help Derek, even though he quit Ted Nugent, and now Ted's not selling like he used to. That's the sound of brakes slamming on. But, and then he said to Brad, Brad, you and Derek put something together, I'll get you a deal on Warner Brothers. And we said, okay, so we got a deal on Warner Brothers, put the songs together, put it out, loved it, had the best time ever. For some reason, and I think it was 82, finally Joe Perry got himself cleaned up, and Steven got himself cleaned up, and they said, let's put the band back together. They called Brad. Brad left what he and I were doing, and he went back to Aerosmith. crazy enough, at the same time, Nugent calls me, goes, "Hey, man, I'm putting out an album, but I need you to sing it for me." Okay, so I came back, and then for that, I went out on that tour that summer. So we kind of went back to our prospective bands, and shoot, lo and behold, 40 years later, I live in Nashville. He's got three boys. The middle boy's a guitar player, and the youngest boy's a guitar player. But the middle boy moved here and wanted to go to Belmont and wanted to, study music. And so he gets in a band, and before you know it, Brad goes, "Hey, I'm fixing to move from North Carolina. So why don't you come to Nashville? Your son's here. I'm here. You know, a lot of people that you know are here." So he moved here. We started hanging out at Starbucks, having some coffee in the morning. He said, "Hey, come on over to my new house. Check it out." He said, "Check out my new guitars I got." And we pick up the guitars. And all of a sudden, he starts showing me the licks he's been saving that Aerosmith never wants to use, and I'm showing him the stuff that I've been working on. And boom, there's an album. We start writing all these songs. We go, "Let's go record it." So we went and recorded the album. God bless him. He funded it. We did an incredible album. We decided to put it out on, Mailboat Records, and now it's on Mailboat and it's still on iTunes. It's called Reunion, 37, 40 some odd years later. But I will tell you, we recorded it here at a studio called The Castle in Nashville, actually Franklin, Tennessee, and we got the big drum sound, the big room sound. I got all the big guitar sounds, and man, if you haven't heard it, you guys go get it or listen to it tonight. Call me tomorrow and tell me how sorry you are you didn't already freaking have it. So, and that takes the story up till now. So now, Brad has gone back out with Aerosmith, so we had to put Woodford St. Holmes on hold. He's back out doing the first of the, farewell concerts. Arriva Derci, Aero Derci or something, I don't know.
Sure.
But, like Kiss, how many how many times are you going to say this is your last tour? 5? Yeah, probably. But, and it works, people get hysteria and they start rushing and buying your tickets, and it works. But, so I haven't talked to Brad in a while, so I just been doing a lot of my own stuff. And I'll tell you recently what I really had some fun with was I do these things at the Dallas Vintage Guitar Show, and it was fun to be thrown in the mix with George Lynch. Are you guys familiar with George?
Oh, yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I get thrown in the mix with George by the guy that runs the Dallas Vintage shows. He goes, "Hey, man, can you get up there and jam with George?" And I'm going, "Okay, I just got done jamming. I just did an hour of my own material and my own 2 guys, right?" He goes, "Oh, man, come on," because George doesn't have a band, and he's up there. And I get up there with George, and George Lynch and I tear it down. George is a monster. At the end of the show, and I'm just making up stuff. I'm scatting songs. Some songs that were kind of mine, but I changed them up a little bit so he could play guitar on them. And the bass player and the drummer knew the arrangement. And George never heard him before, and he was playing on like he owned him. And we got to the end of it. We probably played in front of maybe 300, 400 people outside in the 100-degree sun in Dallas. And there's probably another 400 still walking around the show. They tell me it was 500, but I don't know. But at the end of it, we get a standing ovation for just rocking, man, for just singing my ass off, playing my guitar, him playing his guitar, playing his ass off. We get a standing ovation. He walks over to me as a crowd still standing ovation, applauding. He walks over to me and goes, "Derek, that guy Ted Nugent must be a real asshole."
Man,
I did. What do you think he meant by that? I think it was that we worked so well together, and there was no clash. There's no worry. I don't step on his toes. He's freaking George Lynch, man. I don't go into George Lynch town, and he doesn't come down to Derek St. Holmes town. We keep it all uptown, and we do what we do.
Yeah, I can only imagine how completely awesome that would have been. I mean, George is obviously a burner, and with you involved, it was probably amazing.
I just took it to another level, man. and luckily enough, we're getting ready to do that again. Have you guys ever been to the NAMM show?
No, we haven't had a chance.
Oh, my God. If you went to the NAMM show, you would freak out because you walk around and you bump into everybody. I mean, you'll bump into, you name it. You'll bump into Joe Bonamassa. You'll bump into Eric Johnson. You'll see Paul Stanley. You'll see Gene Simmons. You'll see Billy Sheehan. You'll see, everybody, because we're all music gear nerds, all of us. So what's fun is to go and watch all their interaction between all those people, because every once in a while they'll have these certain little jams at like a certain booth, and anybody will get up, and you'll see a pairing of a couple musicians that you would have never dreamed of, and it's just freaking awesome. So we're getting ready to go do that shortly, and I'm excited about that.
That sounds, definitely right up my alley. I've no major success, but been playing guitar for over 20 years and sort of a gearhead myself, but never been able to make it. Yeah,
you would love it, man. I guarantee you the money you spent to get there, you would not regret it. But, other than that, I play every day. At least an hour or two, and I just love it. I love it like I did when I was 14, I'm 65, man. It's freaking crazy. I love it. Love it.
Well, Derek, we don't want to keep you all day, but we're excited about the new tour and the new EP. And is there anything else maybe in the works, or are you keeping busy with just those things?
Well, I've got a new compilation CD coming out of a lot of my songs that were on a bunch of different albums, like the band St. Paradise after Ted Nugent. That was on Warner Brothers. We're taking some of those songs, putting them on a compilation album, and a couple of the tracks that I've already done with the Wood for St. Holmes. I already wrote them, and I had already recorded them, so I'm going to put those on there. So just look for a new compilation, Derek St. Holmes CD coming out soon. And as soon as I get done doing that, I want to start this new blues album. And it's going to be rock and blues. It's going to be, I'm not going to do, what is it, Bluer Than Blue or Sadder Than Mick Jagger or whatever that album is.
I forget what it is, but I know what you're saying.
I think it's called, well, we've been Rolling Stones for freaking ever stealing this stuff. Let's finally pay homage and do them just like the record. And I have that album. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And I'm going to do a couple, like, deep Howlin' Wolf songs, a couple deep. I'm going to steer clear of Robert Johnson. Everybody's worn Robert out. But I'm going to, maybe dig deep, get some of that really old Mississippi stuff. Maybe a muddy tune. But I'm going to rock them, man, the way Johnny Winter used to rock them.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time, Derek. We really appreciate it. We're huge fans, and looking forward to seeing you.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. It was great talking to you guys. Thanks for letting me talk my head off.
No problem. It's been great. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.